Hello. You there?
Hey, 1 second.
Okay. Seriously, Tigger now wants to enter. Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hey,
Wanting
just
to
so you
do
know,
cat.
there's a typo on the title. Connor is with an O.
Oops,
Yeah.
my bad. All
No
right.
problem.
One on
He's
one
coming.
today.
Say what?
One on one today.
No, no, Connor's here.
Okay, cool.
He
You
was
guys gonna go
grabbing a chair,
camera?
but
Okay, camera on.
okay, hold on. Let me grab some books.
I can always adjust that later when I go and load the video.
Okay. Here we go.
Good evening.
Hey, Benjamin, how you
Okay.
doing?
Not
Oh,
bad,
you can
Connor. How are
see the
you?
lights.
Good.
Thank you both for coming out tonight. First
Of
things
course.
first.
You can
Going
kind of see the light behind us, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just give me 1 second. First things first. Today's video and going forward is going to be sponsored by this private equity fund who works specifically in the real estate industry. Going forward, my podcast now has a corporate sponsor, and I'm paid to produce my podcast with them and also show people what they do. This is MIYOM, and it was started by a very ambitious guy here in 2008 who, as the podcast starts going to more of a weekly format next month, you guys will see more of this, in what I now call phase two of the podcast, where it'll be much more professional. I'll be in an office setting, and sometimes I'll be doing recordings to myself. But generally, this is good news for me because now I have a corporate sponsor.
Congrats.
Now that we got that out of the way. All right, do my favorite introduction.
Oh,
we haven't done it in quite a while. I don't know if we do it every single time. Yeah, we're a little rusty, but I'm Connor.
That's fine.
Linda.
And we are
Married to Real Estate.
Welcome, everyone, to Autism Experience Podcast. And as they both just said, this is husband and wife of Married to Real Estate, Linda and Connor. Linda is already a supporter and a friend of the podcast. We just haven't had you on at the same time. So we're going to do things. Right now, there's two things. We're gonna go over Linda's story a little bit, but we're gonna let you tell more of your story. However, there's a format change. I don't do what I did last time. Now I just have 3 to 4 simple questions, and then we just make it a fun conversation. And today we're going to teach the audience about house hacking and multifamily, which is your specialty. So
topics.
Let's start with Linda as a return guest, just giving us a little glimpse of what brought her to the United States.
Yeah, sure. So I'll be brief. So basically, when I first moved to the US, it was for school. I was doing a business school at the time, and I was doing my master's. So in my country, master's is 2 years. So between the first and second year, we had to spend the summer in New York. That was a mandatory part of the program. I'm not gonna say that I didn't want to go to New York before, but it just hadn't crossed my mind to go live there until I did that. And then when I did, I loved it. It was supposed to be 6 weeks, and I'm still here. So eventually, I found a job so that I was able to stay and got into property management, and that's how I met Connor.
Before we let you go, one thing: there is nothing more American than doing door-to-door sales and getting everyone hates door-to-door salesmen. Not only does it actually build hard skin, but I don't know how many people like you can smile while still having a door shut in your face.
Yes, it's not easy, but in a weird way, I think it totally prepared me for property management because I always joke that in property management, you get professionally yelled at. That's part of the job. So at least when I got into it, I already had thick skin from door to door. So it worked out.
I worked in the Goodwill Donation Center. If you really want to know how nasty people are, do that. And I did that for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I saw basically all the junk that people collect in their houses from over a lifetime. We're talking boomers. We're talking a little older than that. People were downsizing. That was interesting, to say the least. And apparently at that time, Benjamin wasn't supposedly such a happy camper, but that was more by design of how the job was. Anyway, let's get off the job. Now let's start with you. All right, Connor. So who are you and who do you help?
Well, my name is Connor Holtz, as we've already gone over, and I'm Linda's husband. I'm the partner here with Married to Real Estate. I come from a property management background, a property management family here in Chicago. I myself was in the industry right around the time when we met and we started dating. It wasn't exactly my passion. I switched into logistics after that, but it's property management has been such a big part of my family and my upbringing here in Chicago, and really prepared us both to head into multifamily.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to change into logistics exactly, even though you're from a property management family?
Well, I didn't want to get professionally yelled at, but and I guess logistics was the wrong industry because that happens there too.
No, especially because I've been in retail and customer service for almost 22 to 23 years. You never run away from getting
Right.
yelled at by people. I think you figured that out by now.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I think there were a lot of correlating skills. Chicago's a great city for it. It's probably considered by most the hub of logistics here in the States. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it was just
More
something
hub than New York, which is the entry into the country.
from an over the road perspective. Yeah, I would say
How many generations of your family has lived in Chicago?
three. I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Oh
would
my
be my
gosh.
mom, us, and then her dad.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
Very interesting because I know some people at least have a generation or two back, depending on where they live in the United States. So I was very interested in that. Now,
Yeah,
from the
actually, I know that you're from New York City. Is that where your family's from originally? I never even asked you. That's a good question.
So I can actually answer that. My father grew up in the Lower East Side in the 1970s and 80s, but then his father, when he got remarried, moved them to Paterson, New Jersey. And we're talking the projects of Paterson, New Jersey, which Ryan, when he came on earlier this year, told me they're redeveloping Paterson. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
I'm sure my dad would be at least sort of thrilled to hear that, but then knowing how much he hated New Jersey, there would be a lot of jabs at New Jersey by him just because he grew up there. And the joke for New York is New Jersey was the toxic waste dump. Come on,
Yeah,
you
I
know that from being in
lived in,
school
in
here.
Jersey. So I
You
lived in
what?
I actually lived in Jersey when I was in door to door. I lived in Newark for a little bit. So it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, a lot of people who, if they don't, so typically here's how it works. So my dad was from the city and then lived in New Jersey. My mother actually came uh, from Nassau County, Long Island. So I forgot specifically where, but her childhood was there, and now she lives out in Suffolk County. When
Hmm.
they met, because they were both working in New York City, she wanted to be in Long Island close to the family, but he didn't want to stay in the city. So they picked Westchester. And I was
Mm.
born in New York City, but I've been raised in Westchester County, and this is where I've spent the majority of my life. In fact, even when I moved to Washington, D.C. for 1 year, I'm like, I kind of it's not even about my home county. I want to live on my own in my home county, but that's kind of just the part of the world that I identify with. I
Mm.
Makes
could move
sense.
somewhere else, but people are still going to know I'm from Westchester County in New York, Westchester County, New York.
They can tell. Is that accent?
Well, you can tell, but there's something else. Whenever you say you're from Westchester County, what do you think the two or three things that stand out about Westchester are?
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
Taxes.
Taxes.
Texas.
Well, we know a thing or two about
Yeah, yeah.
taxes.
You what?
We know a thing or two about taxes doing real estate.
Yeah, but in all honesty, you think New York City's bad. We have a little joke, whether it's in real estate or not. If you really want to have some fun, come live out in Westchester County because the taxes in some areas, even at the cheapest I ever saw for taxes was like 20K.
Yeah, it can get pretty high.
Because the biggest reason for that, believe it or not, the school districts.
You guys have very good schools.
We have top 25, we have four districts in the top 25 of the United States of America. One of them, which ironically worked in Hastings on Hudson, was recognized by the United States Department of Education within the top 10. The school I went to, John Jay Cross River, was top 25 in the United States district. Not Mamaroneck, but Scarsdale was also top rated. So you kind of get an idea. Even though Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, is actually, they like to say he's from Scarsdale, he's really from Ardsley.
Well, now we know where Facebook started.
Yeah.
Except Facebook started. No. Except here's the funny part. He already had money because his father was a dentist.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
That's the little thing nobody knows about him. They just thought they knew his dad was rich, but they didn't know what the dad does. The dad had a dental practice. How do you think Mark could afford to go to such a good private school?
Right.
Yeah,
Dental
yeah,
practice.
that makes sense.
So, for anyone who's going to tune into this and eventually realize we're talking about real estate, what occupations do you think pay you the best here in the area besides being a real estate agent, obviously, because it's really expensive, real estate with high commission, but what occupations do you think typically live here?
In Westchester?
Oh, in Westchester. I was going to say finance if it was New York, but
Mm,
oh, maybe finance. Some people go out there. How far is it from the
Finance,
city?
finance,
yeah.
definitely. Wall
Mhm.
Street.
Oh,
A lot of them actually live out here and buy mansions out here. So do the athletes. Uh, Lawyers,
mm,
dentists, doctors, engineers.
mm.
There you go. That's the secret recipe right
I know,
there.
right? All the top.
So how did you two actually end up meeting?
Ooh,
Oof.
that's a good one. Go ahead.
Okay, so what happened is both being in property management, we had kind of met before,
A couple
and
events,
yeah, exactly.
introduced to each other.
Yeah, and we knew a lot of people we had a lot of people in common that we knew to various degrees. One of those people I was pretty close to, and my mother-in-law, Connor's mom, was pretty close to the point where we were friends outside of work and ended up going on a trip together, like a girls' trip together. And so that's how I got to really know my mother-in-law. And she was like, "Oh, well, you need to meet Connor." And like I said, we hadn't met before, but it was more like passing ships.
Mom,
So
mom was working as my wingman,
yeah,
so
she was
Ah,
doing.
from another country.
he admitted it. He admitted it.
No, she does.
So we
Good.
ended up like actually spending time together.
I mean, we came back.
Yeah.
We hung out, and then pretty much it was COVID when we really started dating.
True.
So, I mean, that just kind of fast forwarded, I think, a lot of the relationship stuff.
Yeah,
Were you
especially
both
I know.
were you both in separate apartments, obviously in Chicago around that time? Because
Around that time, but then
Yeah.
we moved in together because my lease came up, and it was just a kind of with COVID and everything. It was kind of a weird timing thing that worked out. And
Yeah. And it was right around the time that I know you mentioned that we started house hacking. Our first house hack together was at that point because it made more sense to live together in that building that we now owned,
yeah,
um and rent it out together. So that's how we became landlords.
interesting. Ah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And yes, she was the first one to tell. I knew what house hacking was years ago on YouTube from a creator who's on LinkedIn, but he doesn't really post a lot now, Spencer Cornelia, the guy who goes over financial scams. But I knew what house hacking was when he spoke about it, but the first one to advise me on it was her, and that was Linda, and then everybody, and then I had at least two other real estate agents in my area say that to me, as well as two of our other mutual connections on LinkedIn, one of them being she lives all the way out in Washington. You know who I'm talking about.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Becky Nova. She was one of the first ones to introduce me to it. Like you said, at the time it was pretty big on social media. I know Bigger Pockets used to talk a lot about it on their podcast. But Becky, who also lives in New York, so it's kind of funny, was one of the first one to show me how easy it was and kind of like encourage me. And then around that same time, um, our realtor was also an investor, and she also said like, hey, if you're going to buy something that you can house hack so that you immediately either make money or at least not pay any rent. And that's how
By
I
the way,
started.
COVID kind of gave us the time to make those improvements. I mean,
More than
I'm
enough time.
what
not
were
overly
the
handy, but
mortgage? Remind me, what were the mortgage rates and mortgage rates then? Were they lower?
I would have to look at it. Honestly, I don't remember. Well, it wasn't. So let me say that it wasn't as low as during because that property we bought January of 2020. So like COVID had not even started yet. I mean, people knew about it. I remember because at some of my buildings where I was the property manager, we were starting to get the sanitizing stations and all that. So it was big enough on the news that people were doing that, but it hadn't like completely overtaken the world yet. Nobody was wearing masks or anything like that. So I think I want to say that it was probably, and also we house hacked a triplex, so that's considered residential. So if I remember correctly, the interest rate was probably 5 or 6%. Like it wasn't super low. But for residential property, like yeah, it was a good one where it made sense for us.
The property I showed you at Waro is still funny enough on the market this year. And I'm actually, now that I will have a part-time job and there are lending options there, that actually becomes a goal within the next year because it hasn't moved. I figured it would have sold by now. And that's actually exactly the house hack we were talking about.
Yeah, do you know why it hasn't moved? Because from what I remember, you've been looking at it for like a year at this point.
I think I didn't call the person. I think if I remember correctly, I'm guessing it's probably the price range for that area
Mm,
because it's considered affordable.
makes sense. Got
Not
it.
that that's a bad thing because I've run scenarios through ChatGPT and Claude with that, and I'm honestly thinking at this point once money starts coming into the podcast now through not just work but ad revenue for them, I'm going to actually start putting money away towards that down payment because I'm not Nostradamus. I don't know if somebody's actually going to buy it, but the fact that because of the price range and you mentioned in your software that there were repairs that had to be made, that that's probably part of the reason that it's still on the market, which isn't a bad thing. Because
Yeah.
usually with that organization, you'll see certain things that are smaller, like a condo, move quicker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you need a certain type of a mortgage, and honestly, the people who I'm going to be who are going to be paying me to use their where I'm going to be using their office for studio now, they actually have a first time home buyer package. They actually have a
Nice.
first time home buyer's mortgage, which is a good thing. Meaning, if I get denied at a bank, I have the option to go to them. It'll just be more about the income and it'll be less obvious about what the hell my credit score is because within the last year after layoff and getting back to the workforce, my credit ratings took a tank. They can come back, but honestly, I think I'd rather go for lending options that aren't going to look strictly at my credit at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's so many options out there, so yeah.
Well, in my state, I don't know what are the options in Illinois, and how did you actually finance the triplex?
Oh, that's a good question. So at the time we did what's called, I don't know if it still exists, it's a 203K loan. And that means it's FHA.
Ah,
But
okay, FHA. That's a funny name
yeah, but
for
it's
it.
also FHA where like the 203K part means that we were given, I think it was up to 50K at the time, up to 50K worth of repairs. So you could do some repairs, but you couldn't do anything crazy like down to the studs or anything like that.
Interesting, because in my state we have Sony Ma, which is like supposed to be another version of the state version of Fannie and Freddie.
Oh,
Okay.
So
okay.
we have that option. New York City, I think, also has their own options as well. So there exist good options within New York State, including FHA. There's also a direct home buyers program in New Rochelle where I live. If I don't go for Croton, if I were to buy something here, but property values are probably a little more expensive in this area. So if you don't mind, from your experiences in real estate, how do they determine the value of a property?
So on this one, because it was FHA, it had to be appraised by like an actual appraiser. And I remember that vividly because when we sold, our realtor guided us through like what needed to be done because she knew the appraiser, so she knew what he was going to look for in that specific type of properties. Like I remember, you remember when she told us like repaint the garage, and it was like this weird
Yeah.
area of the garage where it was like paint was peeling, And you look at it and you're like, well, it's just paint peeling. It's not a big deal. But she's like, yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that an appraiser could ding you for because it's FHA, because they have such clear guidelines.
Paint was probably the best decision we made with
Oh my gosh.
building as a whole. I mean, we did some kind of cosmetic stuff in the kitchens and some of the
Did you guys
bathrooms.
have to hire contractors or did you do it yourself?
For the paint, yes.
Yeah.
But the other stuff we kind of just muscled through with very, very limited, handyman knowledge that I have and some instructions and some patience in our early relationship.
We built, remember when we built the pantry?
Oh, the pantry fell.
Yeah.
The pantry did fall. But that wasn't our fault. That was the guys fixing.
They came to clean the vents.
They came to clean the vents, and they just like rested too much weight on it. But
we had built, so the way the architecture of the building was typical Chicago, where it's like those long houses and the kitchen is in the back. And so off the kitchen was like this little closet that was like big enough that you could really walk into it and such. And so part of our 2 or 3K part renovations is that we installed washer dryer in all three, well, in the 2 above units, because when we bought the building, there was only washer dryer in the basement for everybody. So we said, okay, the basement washer dryer is going to go to that unit, and we're going to install our own washer dryer upstairs, is on the top floor. So in our unit, which was the middle one, we put it in that little closet, and that made that little closet empty. So we were like, now that we did that, let's build shelves, and it was quite the adventure.
Yeah, I mean, it was an adventure. They worked for a while there. They were pretty solid, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just stuff like that, and just a lot of things that we did in the limited time. We weren't there for years necessarily, but we felt a lot of pride when people from the neighborhood would stop us on the street and thank us or talk about how happy they are that the building looked in good shape and what it did for the neighborhood.
So basically, you added to the value of the building by just doing the repairs. So when it got appraised, it looked a lot. It sold for probably a little more.
Yes, between COVID and the work that we had done, it really increased in value in only like a year and a half. Also because
that area is blowing up.
Yeah, that area.
This was years ago. It's even.
Which side of Chicago was your triplex on? West side, south side, or
northwest side?
Yeah, northwest. Lincoln Square.
Which part of are you? So, I've seen this before on her LinkedIn. You're a Cubs fan, right? So that means North Chicago.
Oh yeah. My mom is actually from the South Side, but they were Cubs fans apparently back in the day on the South Side too. But I'm a North Sider all day.
Yeah.
Okay, because I always thought if you were from the North Side, you would have been the White Sox fan.
No, South. Well, yeah, South Side. I mean, you do know people who are on either side that are fans, but yeah, South Side is the White Sox. We got the Cubs on the North Side.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I'm a Cubs fan today. I'll tell you more.
They're all over. You meet them, go anywhere.
Oh, I got to hear that story because unfortunately, there are only 2 teams over here for that. And if you're from Manhattan, Westchester, and the Bronx, you're a Yankee fan. Queens, you're a Met fan.
Makes sense. Yankee Stadium was the very first baseball stadium I've ever been to when I moved to America.
The old Yankee Stadium before the renovations?
Yeah,
I was in the old Yankee Stadium before 2000, 2009.
No, so then I went after that because mine was 2013, 14.
Oh, so you went after our World Series in 2009.
If you say so, I believe you.
Yeah, I've been to both Yankee Stadiums. I like the new Yankee Stadium, but I also like the old Yankee Stadium just because of the only oldest park left in the United States is Fenway.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go to that.
Oh yeah,
Wrigley. Yeah, come
Wrigley.
On. Well, and instead of doing new, they did a lot of improvements to Wrigley in that area too.
Well, you can't rip it up because the city would go on a rampage.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true.
And there was concrete falling on people, and I mean it's still an old building.
Speaking of teams who moved, the Bears moved.
What you said about New Jersey is kind of how we feel about
remind me
where they're going in Indiana, where it's kind of where all the waste goes or the factories. But I don't know. It's just what they want.
Well, this is what happens with sports teams. This is part of the business that nobody likes in sports. When the owners feel like the city's taking advantage of them, they want out.
Yeah,
That's true.
people are mad. People
That's
are,
true.
and from a,
I mean,
perspective
I
of winning,
learned
it's,
some very interesting things about some of these owners after watching a video recently. And I brought it up a little earlier, what's my area known for? But then when I realized how, what these billionaires are doing, it's kind of very disturbing, with all the tax breaks that they can basically claim athletes as depreciating assets. I don't know how the hell you can do that in the tax code. Maybe one of you could try to explain the tax code to me at their level where I'm like in kindergarten because I don't get how the hell how you claim an athlete's a depreciating asset.
I could see how, but we only know the real estate side. We're not gonna know the
The
tax code
land, the
for
land
team
is one
owners.
thing. There's tax breaks for that because it's developing land because what they're doing is they're all from real estate backgrounds mostly,
Mm,
except for the New York Jets who's pharmaceuticals.
makes sense.
So unfortunately with him, the I don't know what the Cubs owner is, but I would probably say the Cubs owner has at least won something more recently because the way the Jets owner treats the Jets, it's like, oh, it's just like Johnson and Johnson.
yeah, I know the Cubs owners, they're Nebraska money, like, you know,
Nebraska money.
yeah.
That's nice.
Oh,
They're
TD
older,
Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade.
yeah, exactly. But no, they've won. They were the owners when they broke the curse, so they could kind of do no wrong in a lot of the fans' eyes, even though you gotta hold them accountable when you can. But
Exactly. Hold on. I don't know what the reaction is picking up on, but let me try to remove that. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and they
Anyways.
that's the big problem too, and that's why the Bears mess became what it was. They owned the land to build in the suburbs. They literally tore down the racetrack, and then they tried to get the taxes approved from the local townships, and they said no. And that's why they're going to go now potentially to Indiana. So
And those are the things
Interesting.
that like it's so I mean Connor more than me, but it's so fascinating to us to follow all these things, not just from like a sports fan perspective, but because it's a direct, influence of what we do on the real estate
yeah, the
side.
whole area, anybody who owns anything, and that that's the
Even though
thing that
I'm
makes these
producing a
complicated.
podcast for them, I'll probably be learning from the colleague of the CEO, Rob. I'll probably be learning a lot about, a lot about how their fund works with properties in the area, builds apartment buildings, and that type of stuff. So I'll be learning some useful stuff with them.
Yeah.
A
Absolutely,
lot of
yeah.
useful stuff. And there's also lending options there. So I'm not complaining.
Yes, that's awesome.
I just, unfortunately, in my situation, eventually I need an income improvement, especially if I am going to take a lending option there where, it's going to. Oh, something else. They have a Sidra. You want to tell our audience what a Sidra is?
Do you know what
Self-directed
it is?
IRA.
Yeah, yeah, so retirement account. Cool. Yeah, no, that's all. Is that one that you can invest from?
One of our favorite creators who everyone sees always who runs her own real estate private equity firm is the one who always talks about it, but basically it gives you more investment options outside of the traditional 401k.
Yeah.
So I know she mentions this all the time on her content. We're giving you a
We're giving
shout
you
out, Amy. We love you.
a
When I post this, I'm tagging her or I'll just drop it in her inbox. But anyway, the Sidra, she and a few people who discuss it typically say you instead of just investing in straight stocks and bonds, you can invest into real estate, you can invest into private equity and crypto, uh, gold, silver, and bullion, basically the alternatives.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of alternative options out there. I mean, that's a big thing, a big part of what we do, right? Is like educating people. I don't know if it's educating or just sharing what we know. But like showing people like, hey, it's not just stocks and bonds, right? I mean, me growing up, I didn't even know you could invest. That wasn't even something that was in my radar. I don't know
Wait,
if it's because
they didn't teach that stuff in France?
Nope,
Oh,
nope.
wait, that was only available to the rich kids, right?
She remembered my first class about taxes, and I was already like in the school that sent me to New York at that point. So I was already like 19, 20 years old. And that was the first time that I learned, oh, this is how you do your taxes. So but yeah, no, anything investing, I mean, growing up, it was like you buy your house, maybe you have like a nicer car that's somewhat valuable, and that's it. Like the only thing you can do is buy more houses if you have the means to. But you're going to be a landlord. You're going to have to deal with it and all of that. It wasn't until we found out about house hacking and multifamily and property managers that we were like, oh, we could really scale this business.
We
So
wanted to scale. I mean, we had a good experience when we were landlords, but it was a lot of work, and we
yeah,
figured if we're going to deal
I
with
actually took care of the landlord who I lived in her private house up until 2024 from 2014. I didn't realize this when I was doing my resume at around December last year. I actually voluntarily took care of her property, even with just basic take out the trash, move this and that. I used tools a few times in her house. So I put down like I had 9 years of experience as a voluntary, basic property manager. Obviously, I don't have the experience you two do in that, but it is something that I'm actually thinking might be another possibility for me. I don't know if I would actually do it for, a property or just do it for myself. And yes, the
yeah,
thumbs down is accurate because, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I have the skills to do it. I would just have to learn a bunch of other things like low income tax credit and all that. And would I want to do it? That depends.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I made a post about that recently on LinkedIn about like, could you be a landlord? Yeah, for sure, everybody can. But do you want to is the question. Like, do you have the time? Do you have the energy? Do you have the will to do those things? So it's
I
not as
think
easy as it
I
seems.
think more the
now there's some
bigger
people that want no
question
landlords.
I think the bigger question more is, do you want to deal with housing laws, court, and then people's excuses without being able to understand that sometimes life happens? I'll give you a
That's right.
situation. We got a new property manager over here. I've been going to their office weekly to give them updates even when I got work because I have fallen behind a little bit on rent, but they're understanding and they're willing to work with me, even though the the property's legal department's not exactly thrilled, but they'll work with me because I just told the assistant today that this opportunity that is sponsoring me starts next month. And there's only one other thing that I can probably do just for the year to kind of get everything back in order: unemployment. Not that I
Mm,
want to, but at this point, that helps per week because the hours are going to be about 20.
mm.
So I can at least get away with, 5 to 6 months of unemployment without an issue and then get my life in order. But the difference is with you guys, like you guys, you have people that just don't want to pay rent. I want to pay rent, but what do I not control right now? Who's going to hire me?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. No, and I think we saw that during COVID, the difference between people, some people took advantage of the system and some people were genuinely not able to do certain things and communicated that, and that was a totally different experience. But that's the joys of real
Yeah,
estate.
exactly. You gotta be able to do
Which
both
is
the highs and lows.
understandable.
Yeah.
So let's ask this fun question in terms of investments. I think my audience would be interested to know. Do you recommend buying, owning, and eventually selling property? Or if you were getting into investments today and wanted to get your start, what would you do instead?
Oh, that's a good
Short answer would
question.
be yes,
Yeah.
but I would also educate yourself on if, we've kind of felt that specifically with multifamily or whatever. Once you find out about something, it's probably already past its prime to a
Yeah,
degree.
that's true.
So I would just tell people, you have to have the stomach and the time for it, but educate yourself on, and maybe there's something else
I
that's a
know
little bit more prevalent.
multifamily right now as an asset's not performing that well. it's still something that I am strongly interested in. So maybe there are lending options at, better rates than they once were years ago, since the asset class is not doing that great. And do I want to be an operator? Honestly, when I told her this in text message when we were talking about it one day, we were talking about whether I would go through a syndication, which I'll ask you to discuss a little bit, or I wanted to be an operator. And I was honestly like, so which do I want to basically get screwed with more? Do I want my money locked away for 5 to 10 years where I can't touch it? Or do I want to operate where, at the very least, if the economy sucks, I can refinance? Because either way, they're both headaches. It's a different type of a headache.
Exactly. I think it all depends on your goals because I mean, we know people who manage Airbnbs and there was a lot of hype about that being not a bad niche, but like a one that was very difficult where the laws were changing and all that a while back. And then everybody,
Still
yeah,
persisted through, it seems.
exactly. And then everybody was talking about, and it still is talking about co-living and renting by the room. And then it became RV parks. And in between there were storage units. So I think that every niche eventually, kind of like Connor said, gets their spotlight. But by the time it gets the spotlight, it's almost already too late, right? Like the big guys who are gonna make all the money, um, they already did a lot of that. And then not to say that it's too late as in you can't do it anymore, but you're a little bit behind the curve already. So I think the bottom line is do something that you enjoy, do something that you like, that you're willing to go through the bad days on, because there will be bad days no matter what.
Yeah, and just like with me, I've done my research, with the idea of most of the people that I've been talking to come from the operations side, and that at the very least for me, if there's going to be a bad year for it when I eventually do it, at the very least, I can go to the bank and ask for refinance, or
Yeah.
whoever, get the lender to work with me. If I were to go syndication, there's three problems with syndication. Number one, syndication assumes you already have the money. Number two, can you realistically deal with covering your expenses while the money's locked away? And number three, the money's locked away.
But that's also why I think it all depends on how you invest. Because for us, that's why we always tell our investors, we're never gonna take your last dollar, and we will show you the different ways that you can invest so that you don't have to change your lifestyle. Now, if you tell me exactly, now if you tell me, hey, I have savings and I want to put my savings in something, again, as long as it's not your last dollar, we'll let you invest if that's what you want to do. But for us, it's all about like, yeah, do you understand that your money is going to be locked away? Is there another way that you could invest that's not going to impact you for the next 3 to 5 years? Going back to retirement accounts, going back to our first investment was from a life insurance policy, things like that, where it's like it did not change anything about our daily life. We were still making the money we were making and having the expenses we had. We just took the money from a bucket that we were not using. So it's all about finding out. I think again, finding out what's best for what you want to do. If you think, hey, I don't have the minimum required for this multifamily deal, but I have enough to buy, I don't know, a tiny home, yeah, something like that, where it's like, yeah, then do that. And
You're dealing with individual tenants, and that's, I don't say that negatively, but because as long as you use it as an education, there's no bad experience in that.
I agree with
That
that.
transparency she mentioned is why it's one of our core values. I mean,
Yeah.
it saves you
Well,
when you
that's a
kind
good
of lay
thing,
that
because
out.
one day I do probably plan to go into a multifamily deal through you guys, but obviously I have to make sure it's the right situation. But she knows I want to operate first, not because I think it's a better situation. I can just have more control of the money, you know. eh, y- I want to be a landlord only because,
Yeah.
then I got money coming in, and unfortunately, the difference between the three of us is one of us is 40 while the other two is in their still somewhere in their 30s with a little bit of time. My time is different, unfortunately, because up until yesterday, it's not easy to get hired now with age 40, even though the funny part is I don't think 40 is a hindrance at all, and I think people are looking at it the wrong way.
Exactly. And I think that, anything can be a strength. It all depends on how you use it, right? Because at 40, you can say, I have the experience.
Yeah, even though most people want to try to belittle it and say, well, that experience doesn't count. It's like I still have the same knowledge as you. Maybe I didn't get to work the big fancy corporate job like you did, but guess what? I could say I have two friends who are in property management who learned the exact same frustration you do with your regular corporate job and your toxic boss over there, except they have to put up with tenants making excuses. It's effectively now the same. It's effectively now the same exact skill set, just most people don't want to think about that out loud.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of things a 40-year-old can do. You put a 40-year-old with in front of data or let them go into IT and they can probably extend, they have more experience than trying to get a kid to come into IT young. I mean, honestly, most young people don't even know what they want nowadays.
Yeah.
They don't even want to work.
That's what they want.
That part is true.
Well, can you blame them? Because honestly, we our generation, millennials, we heard for so many years everyone wanted to go after Gen Z. These kids are more technical. They were born with phones in their hands, and now Gen Z's like, yeah, we don't want to work for you because you're not going to pay us.
Yeah, they're kind of not wrong. We're the ones that kind of found out, or our
No,
generation kind
we
of
knew
finding
it
it
for
out the
we
hard
knew
way.
it as a generation for many years. It's just unfortunately, I say this. She understands this. You'll understand this. Not you two, but there are segments of our generation who sold out. They forgot what it meant to actually help somebody for the sake of helping somebody, even if it was just advice, and came up with the idea of charging for their advice.
It's a different world now, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you don't charge somebody that whole logic, which is coaching logic. Let me ask you to invest in getting the same exact advice you could get from me for free. You're not going to necessarily take action. That's the funny part. I've I've paid for at least one private career coach. I've gone through 3 career coaches. The advice has all been the same. And look at the situation that I'm in. What is it really the coaching at this point, or is it they were optimized for different things that they didn't think about? If my bottleneck is the interview and my education, no matter how much my skills improve, isn't getting me anywhere, what's the real problem? It's not the resume.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your gut.
Exactly.
It's for people with autism. Honestly, here's the part that none of these coaches really want to admit out loud. I don't know if autistic people actually really need career coaching or coaching so much as we need somebody to trust us and train us. That's
it's
what
the same
we
way,
really need.
Exactly. But hey, you'll be back on Save the Chat tomorrow, right?
12 noon. Yeah, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I will. Yeah, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I'll be in the city. But I'll be on the phone. I'll just find a place. I'll just find. I'll find the closest Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee, and just put my AirPods on.
Good. We're excited. Yeah, Save the Chat is our commercial real estate meetup. So anybody who's free around noon every Thursday, come join.
Now, one thing I want to say, because last year when I was unemployed, that group seriously helped me through the entire year, just coming to that every Thursday and not just learning about real estate, but learning how to talk to people. I probably think did a lot to get me to what I just received yesterday, because I can equate not just housing, but I can talk the lingo, and it was from spending time there.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, unfortunately, we're gonna have to head out soon.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think
Were there any Any other real
No,
estate things that we
I
wanted to
think
talk
you're
about?
both good. So
Aw.
yeah, we're good from here. I'll give you guys your time back since there's probably about 12 minutes left. And thank you both for coming by. This will be a great episode as soon as it goes up. And I'll let her know through text when it's going to go up so you can both be active. All right.
Please do.
Yes, we cannot
All
wait
right.
to repost it.
All right. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
All right.
Have
See
a
you
good night.
soon.
Bye. Talk soon.
See ya.
All right. Bye. Yeah, I'm just going to end it here.